Hello, everyone. Tassif here. You can tell by my smile that I'm really happy. All right. Thank you all for being here. I see my friend Terry has joined, and Terry writes, "Oh, we get a Haley rant tonight." Terry, I'm definitely going to be talking about Haley. I don't know if it's going to be a rant, but I'm genuinely happy. Okay? In this day and age, in this economy, with gas price being high, with inflation being high, it's hard to be happy, you know. And whenever we get a reason to be happy, we should enjoy that, you know. And that's exactly how I'm feeling. There are reasons to be happy, not one, but multiple reasons to be happy, and I'm going to be discussing those. Um, First of all, thank you all for being here. It is Wednesday night, and I'm glad to be here. Yesterday was a great day, Super Tuesday, and we had how many people? There were many people who joined the live stream yesterday, and yesterday was special. It was, as I said, yesterday the live stream was a special edition because it was Super Tuesday edition. And it was Super Tuesday because that's what it's called, because lots of primaries are held on Super Tuesday. But as I said earlier, for Donald Trump, it was Super Duper Tuesday, right? He won more than a dozen states yesterday, and Nikki Haley, with all the hard work that she put in, with all the campaigning that she did, with all the places that she visited, with all the campaign funds that her campaign used for ads and stuff, different things. Um, given all those efforts leading up to Super Tuesday, on Super Tuesday, Haley managed to win a total of one state. Okay, that was Vermont, and and so anyway, but the question that we discussed yesterday was, is Nikki Haley going to drop out? Remember, that's something we discussed yesterday. Is Nikki Haley going to drop out after Super Tuesday? Now, I was hoping that she would drop out before the South Carolina primary. She did not. She continued on, and then she somehow managed to win the Washington D.C., which makes sense. It's Washington D.C. She won the Washington D.C. primary, and that's okay. And back in 2016, Trump did not win Washington D.C. primary, so nothing unusual. Really doesn't matter in the overall picture. And then leading up to Super Tuesday, lots of speculation. People were wondering what's going to be the final count. How many states will Trump win? How many will Nikki Haley win? And as I said, Nikki Haley won a total of how many? I'm just counting. One. She won a total of one state yesterday, Vermont. But we're gonna put that behind us because today is a brand new day. Well, it's nighttime, so it's not really. It's the end of a brand new day, right? Because today, early in the morning, was a brand new day. Today it's almost nighttime, so the day is almost over. But overall, today was a brand new day in American politics. You know why? Because finally, wisdom emerged, and logic and reasoning was valued today in American politics. Okay? So today was all about logic and reason and wisdom, which is why Nikki Haley finally made the decision, the logical decision, the wise decision to drop out of the presidential race. Okay, my friends. She finally dropped out. Nikki Haley suspended her presidential campaign, but sadly, she did not endorse Trump. Now, is Trump very sad as a result of that? Is Trump very sad that he did not get Nikki Haley's endorsement? I don't think so. I don't think so. Because in the process of the primaries and the caucuses, and leading up to this point, Trump and Trump supporters all realized, as my friend Terry just pointed out, without Nikki, we would never realize how much we want Trump. So exactly, Terry, exactly. In the process of this presidential season so far, people realized how much we want Trump, and Trump realized how much people want him. Okay, so everything happens for a reason. So as I look back in retrospect, I think it's a good thing that Nikki Haley came this far. By campaigning and campaigning, she kept losing, but still she came this far. And this process allowed us to really understand how much people want Trump, and that's what my friend Terry just pointed out. Without Nikki, we would never realize how much we want Trump. And now we do. And now we do. And so going forward, the road is clear for Trump. There are no other major, GOP candidates left. No GOP candidates left. I don't know if there are some independents running. Anyway, I mean, RFK Jr., independent. He's running, obviously, and there may be a few other independent candidates. There are some smaller parties. Anyway, no GOP candidate left other than Trump, which really, he was the front runner up until this point, and now he is the GOP nominee. I guess he, I don't know. We're still gonna have the primaries, right? And so at the end of the day, Trump's going to get the delegates he needs. But because there are no other candidates from the GOP left in the race, he is the GOP nominee. Okay. Now, what's going to happen going forward? Well, before I get to that, let me just look at the chat window here. My friends, as you are joining, as I always say, please write something in the chat window. Give me a thumbs up, put a smiley face, put the image of the American flag, say hello, write the state or the city that you're from. Just write something so that I know you're here. Terry, great comment, Terry. Terry writes, without uncommitted, Democrats wouldn't realize how much they don't want Biden. Exactly. That's something very important. That's a very important point. So when these primaries were taking place on Super Tuesday, not only on the Republican side, but also on the Democratic side, there was this option to vote uncommitted, right? So people could vote for Biden or they could vote uncommitted, which is really a vote against Biden. Biden is the incumbent president, right? Biden is the incumbent. He's the sitting president, and he's running for re-election. And so, if Democrats vote uncommitted, then it kind of shows how much they don't want Biden, right? How much they don't want Biden. So all the Democrats out there who are absolutely sick and tired of the Biden administration and their policies, and those voters who still consider themselves Democrats, they are liberal voters, they are Democrats, but they don't want Biden. Okay, maybe these folks voted for Biden in 2020, but now they don't want to vote for Biden, or maybe these folks were Bernie Sanders supporters, or maybe they supported someone else in 2020, some other Democratic candidate. Anyway, the main point is there are a whole bunch of Democrat voters who are so sick and tired, who are so sick and tired of Joe Biden, his administration, and their policies that they voted for uncommitted. Okay, so they are so serious. I mean, they are such serious voters that they went and voted uncommitted just to make a statement against Joe Biden. Susan, hello. Thank you for joining, Susan. Glad to see you here. Um, let me see what happened to the chat. Okay, the chat window went away for a second. Anyway, Susan writes, I'm 73 today. Susan, is it your birthday, Susan? Is that what you're writing? You're writing you're 73 today. Is that your birthday, Susan? Please let us know so that we can wish you. I'm going to wait for your response, Susan. Oh, yes, Susan writes, it is her birthday. Susan, happy birthday. Wishing you a very, very happy birthday, Susan. Thank you for sharing that with us. Have a wonderful birthday. Enjoy. And may the coming days be full of peace and happiness and lots of joy. So wishing you all the best, Susan. Have a wonderful birthday, okay? And thank you for joining the live stream and sharing sharing this with us and giving us the opportunity to wish you happy birthday. Happy birthday, Susan. So my friends, as I was saying, these Democrat voters, they didn't just, I mean, they could have just sat at home rather than voting in the primary, right? They could have just said, you know, we're going to sit at home and not vote. But no, they felt so strongly against Joe Biden and his administration and their policies that these Democrat voters, they went and voted in the primary and they voted for uncommitted. So you can imagine that there is a group of voters on the Democratic side who are passionately against the Biden administration. I mean, they don't want to see Joe Biden on the ballot. You know, they probably want someone else. Now, we can always have a conversation about who they would want. You know, there are different names out there that people discuss. There's speculation. You know, if Joe Biden, for whatever reason, he decides not to run, or he doesn't run, or you know, he just doesn't go forward with you know, re-election campaign. Who is going to replace Joe Biden? It may very well be that Joe Biden continues on and you know, on November in November of 2024, he's the one who appears on the ballot, and you know, people either vote for him or they don't, or they vote for you know, I'm talking about the Democratic voters. They vote for him or they don't. Or some Democrat voters may switch over to the Republican side. But anyway, I mean, just looking at Super Tuesday yesterday, there were voters who felt, Democrat voters who felt so strongly against Joe Biden that they went and voted uncommitted. Okay? I mean, how amazing is that? All right, let's see. Badger Den is here. Badger Den, thank you for joining. Thank you for being here. We were just talking about Joe Biden and the uncommitted, and you know, lots of Democrat voters voted for uncommitted. So anyway, that actually takes me to my next point. For months now, we heard different theories, different speculation. People asked, you know, even on TV, you could hear these discussion that if for whatever reason Joe Biden doesn't run in 2024, if he decides to step aside, or if he decides to not seek re-election, if he's not the one running in 2024 as Democrat. I mean, is there someone else? Are there other candidates who could potentially run from the Democratic side for president? Now, who is it going to be? Naturally, the name of Kamala Harris comes up because she's the vice president. So if for some reason Joe Biden doesn't run, is it going to be Kamala Harris? And I'm not going to comment on that. Different people have different views, and this is a good question for the Democrats. I mean, it doesn't matter to me because I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. I'm going to vote for the Republican on the ticket. But Democrats have a lot of thinking to do whether they want to see Vice President Kamala Harris running for president. And two other names that have come up and still continue to come up are Michelle Obama and Gavin Newsom. Some people think that Michelle Obama may run for president. Some Democrats would love to see her run for president instead of Joe Biden. And then there are others who prefer Gavin Newsom. And 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 so regarding Michelle Obama, I've got some news to share, and some of you may already have seen this. I'm just going to look at my laptop here because I've got the news pulled up. Michelle Obama's office has basically put an end to speculation that she's planning to run for president, meaning Michelle Obama's office made it very, very clear that Michelle Obama will not launch a campaign, a presidential campaign in 2024. Okay. So all the Democrats out there who are thinking that perhaps Michelle Obama may run for the White House, well, according to her office, she will not launch a bid for the White House. Okay. So that basically puts an end to all the rumors, all the speculation. Now, about Gavin Newsom, I don't know. Gavin Newsom, very interesting figure. Remember, it was, I don't remember what month it was, but it wasn't that long ago that Gavin Newsom went and he visited Florida, right? Gavin Newsom went to Florida, did some traveling, met some folks, seemed like, campaigning almost. And then he also had that interesting debate with Ron DeSantis. Remember that debate? Gavin Newsom versus Ron DeSantis having a debate. So that was interesting. And when people see that, naturally people think that, oh, maybe Gavin Newsom is thinking about running for president. So Michelle Obama's office definitely confirmed that she will not launch a bid for the White House. About Gavin Newsom, I really don't know. But as of now, it seems that Joe Biden is running for re-election, and obviously, he's moving forward. But interesting enough, there are lots of people who voted uncommitted. Oh, they voted uncommitted. They would rather vote uncommitted than vote for Joe Biden. All right, my friends, let me look at the chat window here. Terry writes, Michelle said no way. Yep. So Michelle Obama, I mean, when her office put out a statement, I mean, that's it. I mean, that's pretty serious, okay? Putting out a statement is serious and means that Michelle Obama is really saying, no, she's not going to run. So Badger then writes, Newsom went to Florida to see what a well-run state looks like. Obviously, Florida is a well-run state, and Newsom went to Florida to check out. Maybe Newsom was thinking of moving to Florida. Wouldn't that be awesome? I mean, anything's possible, my friends. Anything's possible. What if, in the not-so-distant future, Newsom decides that he's not going to seek re-election, he's not going to run for governor again, and instead he's going to retire and go and settle down in Florida? Wouldn't that be awesome? I mean, is there any possibility that Newsom may actually retire and become a resident of Florida. If that happens, I mean, I'm probably just thinking crazy things, but it may happen. Anything's possible, and anything is possible. Okay, um, give me 1 second, my friends. I'm gonna look something up. So so let's see. No, sorry, I was looking at something else. Uh, Susan writes. Oh, I didn't know that, Susan. Interesting information. I did not know that. Uh, and Terry is writing Biden will show up on Florida. So, so Terry, do you think Biden will, when he retires, he's gonna live in Florida? Is that what you're suggesting? That he's gonna move from Delaware to Florida? Uh, is that what you're suggesting? Terry, I'm gonna let you answer that. Okay. All right. So, people move and I mean look at Mitt Romney, for example. I mean Mitt Romney was the governor of Massachusetts, right? He was the governor of Massachusetts, and then he became the United States senator from Utah, right? I mean, isn't that interesting? I mean, it's not even a nearby state. I mean, he went from Massachusetts all the way to the other side, in Utah, and he held offices representing two very different states, Massachusetts and Utah, and is the same person. And so anything can happen. Maybe Newsom will retire and go and live in Florida, right? I mean, that's very possible. That could happen. Um, at that point, at that point, if that ever happens, we should. I mean, somebody, not like we, somebody, some journalist should go and ask all the prominent Democrats in California what they think about this move, if that were to happen ever. Okay. Um, all right, my friends. Here's another important information that I want to mention. Trump got a major endorsement today. Do you know who endorsed Trump? Right after Super Tuesday. Susan's writing about AOC. Did AOC's mom move to Florida? I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to look it up. Let's see. I've got my laptop here. Okay. What's Oh yeah, I see that. Ocasio-Cortez's mom moved to Florida. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. See, thank you. I mean, I get to learn a lot from doing these live stream because there's so much out there that I don't know. It's not possible to know everything. So I get to learn a lot from my friends here. So Susan, thanks for sharing that. And I did look it up that AOC's mother moved to Florida. Okay, so Trump got a major endorsement today. And do you know who endorsed Trump? Any idea? I'm sure you know. I'll just let you answer while I take a sip of water here. Do you know who endorsed Donald Trump today, right after Super Tuesday? Any guess? I can reveal the name. Yes, Terry. Yes, Terry. Absolutely correct. Mitch McConnell, the Senate minority leader, the outgoing Senate minority leader, because he obviously made the announcement that he's gonna step down from the role of the Senate minority leader in the fall. So Badger Den writes Byron Donalds. So well, the person I'm talking about is Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell endorsed Trump. Now, did Byron Donalds also endorse Trump? I think Byron Donalds is a Trump supporter. Byron Donalds actually endorsed Trump. So Badger Den, you are correct. Byron Donalds did endorse Trump, but Byron Donald endorsed Trump last year. Okay, so Byron Donalds, you know, he made the decision to endorse Trump last year when there were other candidates, who were running or thinking about running. So Byron Donalds definitely is supporting Trump 100%, no doubt about that, because he didn't wait until 2024 to endorse Trump. Byron Donalds endorsed Trump in 2023. But the person I'm talking about today is Mitch McConnell. So Mitch McConnell endorsed Donald Trump, and that's a major development, because as we know that Mitch McConnell and Trump, obviously when Trump was the president, they worked together on a number of things, and then I'm not going to go into the details of what happened, but obviously we know that for the last few years, Mitch McConnell and Trump, they are not exactly the best friends, right? Over time, they kind of drifted away from each other. And obviously, there was a little bit of tension, a little bit of separation. But now, the fact that Mitch McConnell endorsed Trump, I mean, this is probably the biggest, the most prominent example of the Republicans unifying, the Republicans coming together, and it shows strength, because there's unity. Unity is strength. Unity is strength, and that's exactly what we are seeing among Republicans. There's a lot of unity now. I mean, just imagine, a member of Congress doesn't necessarily have to endorse a presidential candidate. I mean, there's nothing written anywhere. There's no requirement that if you are a U.S. senator, if you are a U.S. representative, that you must endorse a presidential candidate. I mean, there are lots of members of Congress who are probably not going to endorse. Okay, but and so Mitch McConnell could have just stayed as he is without making any endorsement, but he made the decision. The Republican leader in the Senate, Mitch McConnell, made the decision to endorse Donald Trump, to endorse Donald Trump's re-election campaign today, Wednesday, right after Super Tuesday. And so this is a major development, and it just shows that the Republicans are united, no matter what differences we saw a few months ago. There was obviously a lot of back and forth. There were differences of opinions. There were debates, and there were, different clashes and conflicts. But now we are seeing that the Republicans are unifying. They're coming together, because you see Tim Scott endorse Trump, former presidential candidate. Also, Vivek Ramaswamy, former presidential candidate, endorsed Trump. Ron DeSantis, former presidential candidate, endorsed Trump. And there are so many other prominent Republicans, so many other high-profile individuals, elected officials, who have endorsed Trump. And now Mitch McConnell's endorsement. I mean, this is amazing, okay? This is amazing. Now, I saw another news. So Badger Den is writing, what finally happened with Utah? So Trump won Utah, okay? And I'm gonna I saved something on my phone here, which I'm gonna pull up here in a second. Let's see. Let me see. So I saw a news update, and I saw it in the early hours today. Okay. I saw that, this was probably right before 4 a.m. in the morning today. I saw that there was a breaking news update that former President Trump will win the Utah Republican Presidential Caucus based on the analysis of the vote, according to ABC News. So ABC News projected that. So, Utah for Trump. All right. Let's see. My friend Terry is writing that McConnell kept Merrick Garland off the Supreme Court. I remember that, Terry. And that was, that was one of the most amazing things that happened. I remember how President Obama, nominated Merrick Garland, and that did not go anywhere. And so that was really amazing. So, as we sit here and we are thinking about all the amazing things that happened in the past, I mean, Republicans did a lot of awesome stuff. And, Mitch McConnell at the time did not. I'm laughing so much. You can tell that I'm very comfortable and I'm very happy. Okay. And, and so McConnell, he did an awesome thing. President Obama nominated Merrick Garland for Supreme Court, and that didn't go anywhere because Mitch McConnell just decided we're not going to move with this. So that was awesome. It's always wonderful to see unity, my friends, and that's what's happening. Susan writes, I met Dr. Ben Carson and his wife. They're lovely. Oh, so you met Ben Carson. Yeah, Ben Carson. I have not met Ben Carson, but I have read his book, and I forget what the book is called. I've got my shelf right there. I read his book, Ben Carson's, and really amazing. I mean, he's just like a soft-spoken, highly intelligent, conservative. I mean, just a wonderful individual. I was really happy to see Ben Carson in Donald Trump's administration. All right. Let's see. Um, all right. Let's see. All right. Okay. So, it was just amazing that Merrick Garland never made it to the Supreme Court. Obviously he's a very high-ranking official now at DOJ, but I'm just glad. I mean, the Republicans. I mean, among Republicans, there are many differences of opinions, and we see that all the time, right? And that's a good thing. I think it's healthy. We don't see as much differences of opinions on the Democratic side. It seems that Democrats, they just come up with a plan and they stick with it. They all vote party line. They all do the same. They got their marching orders. But Republicans, senators, members of Congress, they are all intelligent people. They have their own thoughts. They have differences of opinions, and they are not, afraid of being vocal and sharing their views, which is important for, healthy discussion. So there may be differences of opinions on issues among the Republicans, but I mean, the Republicans have done a really awesome job when it comes to the Supreme Court. I mean, Amy Coney Barrett and Kavanaugh, and I mean, all the great Supreme Court justices. Give me 1 second here. So think about. I mean, just look at the last few years and think about how Neil Gorsuch made it to the Supreme Court. His nomination, his confirmation, that was so amazing. Brett Kavanaugh, okay? I mean, what Brett Kavanaugh went through during his confirmation hearings, and soon after he was nominated. I mean, not going into the details, I'm never going to forget that. So he went through so many challenges, so many hurdles, so many roadblocks, but now he's on the Supreme Court, Brett Kavanaugh. I mean, what an amazing individual. And then Amy Coney Barrett. So, I mean, think about Neil Gorsuch, think about Brett Kavanaugh, think about Amy Coney Barrett, justices on the Supreme Court, and, give credit to the Republicans for being united in making sure that, solid conservative justices get solid conservative, legal minds get confirmed to the Supreme Court. So I mean, there are lots of accomplishments. So, as Badger Den, uh, as uh, uh, let's see, Badger Den, it was your comment, right? Um, uh, oh, it was Terry. You made the comment about McConnell, right? Keeping Merrick Garland off the Supreme Court. Anyway, I'm just scrolling back. Badgerton is writing a joke. I see that here. Well, see, I'm in a good mood. You can tell by the way that I'm talking. I'm in a very good mood, and I just feel so great. I mean, after all the discussion we had on this channel during live streams, on the videos, finally, Donald Trump is heading towards the GOP nominee. He is he. I mean, this is it because Nikki Haley dropped out. So the path is clear for Donald Trump to move forward and to hopefully win the election to be back in the White House, win the election in November 2024, to get sworn in January 2025. That's going to be amazing. So as I was saying, the Republicans, they may have differences of opinions on a number of issues, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Not everyone will agree on the same thing all at once at the same time, because you know people have their own views, and it's good to have a variety of views, and that shows that the Republican Party is actually a party of diversity. We have people with a variety of different ideas, and they are not shy about expressing those ideas. But when the time comes, the Republicans are united. And the greatest examples of that are Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. Because these wonderful justices were confirmed to the Supreme Court because of strong Republican leadership in the Senate. And so, we have some great accomplishments, and going forward, I'm really hoping that we increase the size of the Republican majority in the House, and we regain the majority. The Republicans regain the majority in the U.S. Senate, and we win the presidency. So I'm just looking forward to seeing Trump win in November of 2024. And I know there's a lot of time between now and November, but my friends, time flies really fast, and in the wink of an eye, November 2024 will be here. And between now and then, there will be lots to discuss. Susan writes, Gifted Hands is one book. Susan, you're referring to the books written by Ben Carson. So I think you're talking about Gifted Hands, which is the Ben Carson story. I have not read Gifted Hands, but I think the book that I read, the book that I read that Ben Carson wrote, Dr. Ben Carson, it's One Nation. Okay, it's an amazing book. If you read that book, you're gonna like it. One Nation by Ben Carson. If you have not read it, it's just a recommendation for anyone out there. Read that book. My bookshelf, I've got two bookshelves, and I have more books than I can fit on both of my bookshelves. Okay, so I'm just looking at the bookshelf and some of the other books that I can see. Read One Nation by Ben Carson. It's really an amazing book. You're gonna like it. And what other book? By the way, I read a great book. I'm just looking at my bookshelf, and looking at some really good books that I read. One of them is called Eisenhower. It's about President Eisenhower. That's a great book too. It's written by Paul Johnson. Eisenhower. Great book. All right. I like to read. I love reading a lot, and I love reading history books. I love reading biographies of political figures. Um, and then obviously I read a lot of novels too. Um, uh, so my friends, question for you all: do you love reading books? What kind of books do you like reading? Write the name of your favorite book or your favorite author, whether it's nonfiction or fiction. I love reading a lot of fiction too. Now, my friends, I don't know how many of you know this, but I self-published two books of poems. Okay, that is correct. I wrote poetry. I wrote lots of poems, and I published two books many years ago. And those are still available. If you want to check those books out, you can go to my website, tausifanam.net. There's a section called Store. So you can go and you can read a little bit about the books. And, you know, I think on the internet, if you look the books up, you can read some of the pages for free too, I think. Um, so Susan writes, I'm reading the Killing series by Bill O'Reilly. I have a few books from the Killing series. I have the England, the Lincoln, and the Kennedy, three books by Bill O'Reilly. I think I have one more too, but it's a great series. It's a great series. I have not read all the books in that series, but it is definitely a very nice series. And I have lots of books, many books that I have read, many books that I have not read, and sometimes I read a book more than once. If I really like it, maybe I'll read it, and a few years later I read it again. Um, and so there is a book that I read twice, no, maybe thrice, three times. It's a book by J.M. Coetzee. It's called Waiting for the Barbarians. There was also a movie made on that story. Nobel Prize winner. Okay, J.M. Coetzee won the Nobel Prize. Um, let's see. So Susan writes, I got all of them from eBay for 25. So Susan, seems like you got a good deal. So you got all the books from the Killing series by Bill O'Reilly for $25. I mean, that is an amazing deal. Really, that's a wonderful deal, I think. Um, so Badger Den is making a book recommendation. Uh, do you recommend reading that book that you mentioned, Badger Den? I don't know what that book is about. Let's see. It's about, let's see. Give me 1 second here. I'm gonna look up that comment. Let's see. So Badgerton, the book that you're mentioning, I'm gonna look it up. If you have book recommendations, my friends, please let me know. Fiction, nonfiction, doesn't matter. Okay, let me know if you have book recommendations. I bought a book written by Victor Davis Hanson, and I have only read a few pages. I couldn't read the whole book yet. It's on my list, um, and that book is called. Um, how come I forgot that name? Uh, I bought that book. It wasn't that long ago. All right. So yes, I just looked it up. I just know it's a book by Victor Davis Hanson. I have the book. It's on my reading list, but I just somehow, this moment, I forgot the name. It's called The Dying Citizen by Victor Davis Hanson. I read a few pages, and it seems very interesting. So I am going to read that book, The Dying Citizen by Victor Davis Hanson. Okay, I haven't read it yet. And so, I can't comment on the book, but I read a few pages and it seems very interesting. And Victor Davis Hanson, I think, based on what I hear him talk about on TV, he's definitely an intelligent individual. And so obviously I want to read his book. Let me see. Laura is writing, I don't read much of variety of books, but I do read my Bible. Laura, Uh, uh, some people like reading, and there's if you don't read a lot, but if you still want to consume information, you can always try an audiobook. And I know a lot of my friends, they enjoy audiobooks. So it gives you the flexibility, that if you want to read a book but you're really not, you don't have the time to sit down and turn the pages and read it, you can always choose an audiobook. And that way, whether you're driving or you're doing anything around the house, you can have the audiobook on and you can still consume the information. So Laura, that's a recommendation for you. You can try that. Um, and let's see. Um, Badger Den writes, leftists might be radical, but they are excellent authors. Um, I think it's important. We all have our political views. Badger Dan, I saw your comment. You wrote that leftists may be radical, but they are excellent authors. So here's my viewpoint. We all have our political ideology. We all have our beliefs. Things that our principles, things that we value. We have our belief system. We have our political ideology, as I said. But if we want to be informed individuals, then we really have to read a variety of books. So if I am only reading books by conservative authors, then I'm only hearing the conservative viewpoints. But if I read both books written by conservative authors as well as liberal authors, then not only do I learn the conservative viewpoints, I also can learn more about what the liberals are thinking, what they are advocating for, what their views are. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm going to agree with the liberal viewpoints, but just reading what they have to say, it allows me to be an informed individual. It allows me to hear both sides. Okay, it doesn't mean that your views are going to change, but at least you know what they are thinking, what they are trying to say. So I think it's important to read a variety of books for the same reason. Susan writes, I like the great American authors like John Steinbeck. Okay, so growing up, I read a lot of books. I don't know if my friend Terry is still here. Terry, any book recommendation from you, Terry? Terry, if you have any book recommendation, let us know. Um, I loved reading Charles Dickens growing up. Charles Dickens books like David Copperfield and Hard Times and Great Expectations. I really love that. And then I like J.M. Coetzee, as I mentioned, and I like poems by John Keats. I like old books, old novels, and then I I there's another book that I read more than halfway. I didn't finish it yet. That's Gulliver's Travels. I obviously read about Gulliver's Travels when I was young, but now to actually read the not the abridged version, but the actual the original version by Jonathan Swift. It's really amazing. Okay, let's see. So I see Badger Den is writing a book recommendation, and Susan is writing about a poet. So I'm going to check out all the recommendations that you're writing here. After the live stream, maybe tomorrow I'm gonna sit and look up these books that you're mentioning. Let's see. Badgerden writes, have you read anything by Noam Chomsky? It's interesting. Noam Chomsky, very different political views. I have read a few of his essays. I studied political science in school. So my bachelor's degree is in political science. So I have read comparative politics. I have read books on political theory, international relations. So I have read a few essays by Noam Chomsky. I can't remember what essays those are because I read those essays more than 10 years ago. So I have read some writings of Noam Chomsky. Obviously, um, I'm not sure how exactly he describes himself. Does he call himself a liberal or liberal Democrat or progressive? I don't know. So, but I have read a few of his essays. Um, in school we got to read a variety of different works. We read essays and books written by people who lean towards the left and people who lean towards the right. So I had the opportunity to read a variety of things. I read the great book by the great Mayor Rudy Giuliani. That was one of the assigned readings. It's called Leadership. It's a wonderful book, Leadership by Rudy Giuliani. We read that in school. And I'm just gonna have to look at what other things, what other books I read. Um, we read some ancient writings for political theory. Really old stuff like Cicero and more. Old Greek and Roman history. I had to read. Okay. By the way, I enjoy reading Greek and Roman mythology. Okay, that's really something I enjoy reading a lot. And I enjoy reading poems by John Keats. So if you read poems by John Keats, there are many references to ancient Roman and Greek mythology. And then I read Greek and Roman mythology. I really enjoy that. Terry is writing. My friend Terry writes Canterbury Tales, King Arthur. I read King Arthur, Terry. I read King Arthur. It's been many years, but I've read King Arthur and Shakespeare. Obviously, I had to read a lot of Shakespeare just growing up. We had to read Shakespeare for school, and really, really amazing writings. Um, and what else did I read? I mean, I read so much. I'm just let me look at the let me look at read Philip Roth. I read Philip Roth, and see, what's interesting is I'll just tell you how much of a reader I am. Look at this. The Norton and Anthology of English Literature. I mean, this is sitting right here, a feet or two away from where I am sitting, and so you can tell that I have read and I read a lot of literature. Frost, okay, the poetry of Robert Frost, so amazing, so amazing, and so I have to make a recommendation here. If you want to read something really wonderful, I'll give you a recommendation. Okay, this is actually something that my mom told me about when I was very young, when I was a young boy, I was little. My mom recommended to me a story, and she told me the story, okay, before I could read the book, I mean, it's actually a short story. She told me about The Bet by Anton Chekhov. Okay, please read it. If there's one thing that you're gonna read The Bet by Anton Chekhov. My mom picked up this book a few years ago when we were at a Barnes and Noble. See, Peasants and Other Stories by Anton Chekhov. And so this is a collection of short stories. And one of the short stories is The Bet, okay? The Bet. Please read it. I'm not going to tell you anything about it, but please read The Bet, okay? And as I said, when I was a very young boy, my mom told me about this story. My mom told me the story before I could actually read it, before I could read the book. She told me the story, and it is so amazing. I have no words to describe. Look up The Bet by Anton Chekhov, read it, and after you're done reading it, I would love to hear your thoughts. Okay? It's a very short story. It's going to take you, you know, depending on how fast you read. Let me just tell you, it's going to take you less than half hour. Okay? Less than half hour. You can read it and you can let me know. So let's see. Susan Epp writes the German and Irish fairy tales. Okay, you're writing about the German and the Irish fairy tales. I like Aesop's fables. Aesop's fables. There are so many short stories that we can read, and we can learn so many important things. So I love short stories, by the way. Oh, Ernest Hemingway. Who loves Ernest Hemingway? I just love Ernest Hemingway stories. Absolutely. What else am I looking at here? Let's see. Let's see. There's lots of other books here. I've got so many books. Anyway, Hemingway. I love the stories of Ernest Hemingway. All right. So we have, I want more book recommendations from you all. And what I'm going to do is, after this live stream, maybe sometime tomorrow, I'm going to sit down and go through the live chat and make note of all the books that my friends have mentioned here during the live chat. And I'm going to look up these books, okay? And please, my recommendation would be read The Bet by Anton Chekhov. If there's one thing you're going to read that. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what it's about, but it's very deep. It's very meaningful. You may have to read it twice to truly absorb the meaning of it. Okay, it's about incarceration and freedom. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. It's about incarceration and freedom. Okay, my friends. So if you have any other book recommendations, please let me know. Do you have plans for spring break, my friends? Anyone has plans for spring break? Spring is coming. You know what? I am not looking forward to the daylight saving time change. It just messes up the schedule, right? I mean, it's just so hard to adjust. All right, Terry is writing more recommendations. Susan writes, I like cowboy poetry. All right. Anyone else here who has not written anything during the live chat so far? Oh, so Susan is writing about a book. Oh, by the way, there is one book that I really, really recommend. This one, can you see it? A River Runs Through It, Norman Maclean. If you have not read this, please read it. There's also a movie that was made on this story. And by the way, Terry, if you have not read it, you're probably gonna like it, because the story is set in Montana. So you're probably going to like it if you have not read it already. A River Runs Through It. This is so amazing. One of the best stories I've ever read. Really, really deep, really meaningful, emotional. So please read that also. Okay. So Terry's writing taxes and mowing. So Terry, you're talking about filing taxes. Terry, why would I like Montana? Terry, I thought you liked Montana. You don't? It's in that region of the state. It's in that region of the country. Once I make a trip to South Dakota, I'm gonna go to South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, Idaho. I'm gonna visit all those places. You don't like Montana? Why was I thinking you like Montana? Okay, you're writing it's a okay. I understand, but isn't it beautiful? I mean, if you want to be close to nature and away from the hustle and bustle of the city life, I mean, wouldn't you choose Montana for a calm and peaceful, you know, vacation? Take few days off, go away from, all the urban life, just go someplace and relax. It's beautiful, right? Terry agrees it's beautiful. Now, I have not been to Montana. Uh, Susan writes, if I could live anywhere, I would pick South Dakota. Well, Susan, you should talk to Terry because Terry is in South Dakota. Badgerton writes, I have a niece that lives in Boise, Idaho. All right, Terry. Someday in the not so distant future, I'm gonna make a trip to all those states. I'm gonna go to South Dakota, North Dakota, Idaho, Montana. I've always wanted to go to Montana, in particular, since I read The River Runs Through It. I've been wanting to go to Montana. Terry writes, but the whole USA is beautiful. Absolutely. And that's why I say we are so fortunate. We are blessed to live in the greatest country in the world. Whether you love mountains or the desert or sandy beaches, we have everything in the United States. Let's see. Some more comments here. A great state. Yeah. So, yeah, Kristi Noem, one of the greatest governors in America. Um, she may very well be the VP. Laura writes, we are blessed. Laura, you are from such an amazing state. Texas, right, Laura? Everyone loves Texas. I mean, this is one state. You ask any conservative, okay? You ask any conservative anywhere in the country what they think of Texas. I think everyone's going to say that they love Texas. Everyone loves Texas, Laura. And Laura, as I say, I mean, I love Kristi Noem. She's one of the greatest. But Greg Abbott, I mean, really, what Greg Abbott is doing, really amazing, really amazing. Susan writes, I've never been to Texas. Well, Susan, I've been to Texas once, been to Dallas. Beautiful, beautiful place. Really lovely. Great people. The people of Texas, really amazing people. That's what makes the state great. The people, right? I mean, why would you call a state a great state? It's because of the people. A state becomes a wonderful place when the people are nice. And that's the case for Texas. Badgerton writes, I've been to Houston, but this was many years ago. Yeah, I've been to Texas in 2018. I can't believe how fast time flies. So many years have gone by. So Susan, you should visit Texas, definitely. So Terry writes, okay, is it pronounced Huron? Is that how it's pronounced? I don't know. Terry writes, Rocky Mountains are awesome, but I don't want to live in them. Reminds me of John Denver's music. All right. So Terry, very soon in the not so distant future, I'm coming to South Dakota, okay? And I'm gonna go to South Dakota, North Dakota, Idaho, Montana. I'll plan a road trip. It'll be a wonderful road trip. My mother and I we made a very nice road trip to Texas in 2018. Drove from Madison, Wisconsin to Dallas, Texas. Spent a few days there, and we drove back. It was the most wonderful trip. And I love road trips. I mean, honestly, I'd rather drive than get on a plane because when you're driving, you can stop anytime, you can make a detour. you are in complete control, right? And then you get to experience the beauty of America. Okay, if I took a plane from Madison to Dallas, then I really wouldn't be able to enjoy the trip and to see the beautiful sights and the scenery and stop at different restaurants and cafes and meet people and enjoy good food. So I like road trips. Okay, let's see. All right. All right, my friends. What a great conversation we're having. We talked about politics, then we talked about books. Now we're talking about the wonderful states that we have in the United States. By the way, anyone, if you have not been to Wisconsin, please visit Wisconsin, okay? Visit Wisconsin. There are so many great places, I can recommend a lot of places, and my friend Terry can recommend a lot of great places too. There are so many things to do and see in Wisconsin. Anyway, I'm going to end this live stream here in a little bit, and thank you all for joining. Yesterday was an amazing day, and today we got more good news. McConnell endorsed Trump, Nikki Haley dropped out, and the Republicans are united. So let's think positive. Let's be optimistic. We have lots of challenges to face because the economy is still not doing good. Gas price is still high, and we have to repair a lot of relationship with our international allies. We have to strengthen our military. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and for that we need a strong leader. Donald Trump is the leader. So going forward, I am hopeful that Donald Trump's campaign will keep gaining momentum and that in November 2024 he will win to become the president again. So, my friends, let's hope for that. That's our hope. Let's hope and pray. And, I'll be back again with more videos, more live stream. Thank you all for staying connected. Please tell your friends, family members, and neighbors about my channel and send me more book recommendations. And don't forget to read The Bet by Anton Chekhov. My friends, thank you so much for joining. Susan, Laura, Terry, Badger Den, and did I miss anyone else? Thank you all for joining, and I will be back with more news, more updates, and more commentary very soon. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night, my friends.